We need to return again to the familiar tremor under the waters of the Kerch Strait. In the early hours of this morning at precisely 4:44, the Ukrainian Security Service, the SBU, detonated 1,100 kilograms of underwater explosives beneath the vaunted Crimean bridge, the third such attack since the war began. Rather like the drone attack on the aircraft, this was a surgical strike, no civilian casualties, no collateral chaos, just cold, deliberate demolition and a message beneath the waves: Crimea is Ukraine. And this bridge, built in 2018 with Kremlin fanfare and Vladimir Putin himself behind the wheel of the first truck to cross, is not just a structure, it's a symbol, and symbols, like tyrants, are vulnerable. And the Kerch Bridge links Russia to Crimea, a 12-mile artery across the Black Sea. It's both a supply line and a statement, the crown jewel of Russia's illegal 2014 annexation. Russia spent $4 billion on its construction, not to connect communities or enable trade, but to wield power to cement Crimea to the Russian Federation in steel and concrete. To Ukraine, this bridge is illegitimate, a violation of sovereignty and a target as valid as any tank or airstrip. And so for the third time it's been struck, once by a truck bomb, once by a sea drone, and now with poetic symmetry from below. Lieutenant General Vasyl Maliuk of the SBU said simply, "God loves the Trinity. We always complete our missions and never repeat ourselves." The implication: Ukraine's capabilities are not just evolving, they are maturing, and this was no reckless act. Ukraine's underwater demolition was part of a broader operation coming just after Operation Spider's Web, which saw more than 100 drones strike deep into Russia, damaging over a third of its strategic bombers. Together, these actions reveal a pattern: precision, disruption, psychological warfare. Ukraine is not winning by brute force, but by strategic finesse, by unbalancing a superior foe. And what does this latest bridge strike achieve militarily? It disrupts a key logistics route, and it stops ferry troops, munitions, fuel from Russia to the occupied south, to Crimea. It forces Russia to divert time, money and manpower to repair and defend the indefensible. It undermines morale in Russia, both civilian and military, by showing that nowhere, not even Putin's pet project, is truly safe. Russia, for its part, is rattled. The investigative committee immediately branded the attack a thing of terrorism, claiming that Kyiv's operatives planned everything with maximum precision to kill civilians, yet civilians weren't killed. This despite the fact that Ukraine's strike was entirely military in nature and occurred before dawn. By contrast, Russian forces have responded with something far more grotesque: a barrage on the city of Sumy, killing at least 4 civilians and wounding 28 others, including children. As President Zelensky put it, ordinary streets hit with rocket artillery. This was a deliberate attack on civilians. It's a chilling contrast. One side targets bridges, the other bombards homes. Yet the Kremlin accuses Ukraine of terrorism. The irony is not just bitter, it's bloody. And meanwhile, in Bryansk and Kursk, 2 separate Russian bridges mysteriously collapsed over the weekend. Russian media allege Ukrainian sabotage. Kyiv, in turn, accuses Moscow of staging false flag attacks, an old trick to muddy the waters before the latest Istanbul peace talks. This is classic hybrid warfare, narrative as weapon. Russia wants to paint Ukraine as indiscriminate, unhinged and untrustworthy, but it's Moscow that bombs hospitals and schools, while Ukraine focuses on rail lines and support pillars. The underwater strike was legally valid under international humanitarian law. The bridge is used for military purposes. Its destruction, if executed without harming civilians, is entirely lawful. The same cannot be said for Sumy. Traffic on the Kerch Bridge has now resumed, but each attack makes it harder and slower to repair. Ukraine doesn't need to destroy the bridge outright, it only needs to make it unreliable. The symbolism remains powerful. This is the third blow to a monument that was never just a crossing, but a claim, a global fiction cast in concrete. And as the SBU's chief puts it, Crimea is Ukraine, Any manifestation of occupation will receive our tough response. And that bridge, as it all stands for, is increasing an inexpensive liability for the Kremlin. So, in the early light over the Kerch Strait, what do we see? Not just a plume of water and concrete, but a crack in Russia's myth of permanence. Putin promised the Crimea was gone forever. Ukraine is showing with courage and cunning that history can run in reverse. And so the bridge stands barely, but it trembles. And every tremor reminds us the occupier builds, the occupied remembers. And resistance, like water, will always find a way.